Hey, guess what? It's Saturday. You knew that already. Board Game Geeks, what's going on? This is Brian Hazard, and I'm here on Gamerati because it's good to be a gamer. This is your Saturday Spasm. I also post videos at my own channel, Game Spasm, FYI, but nowhere near as frequently as I post here because Saturdays are the day to game. And I am spasming today about Middle-earth Quest. Not a new game, not even sure if it's available anymore, but it's a fave of mine. And today I am at Carrie and Saul's house, aka the Temple, for the Lord of the Rings Marathon. They do this every year where they feed us at the same times that hobbits eat, and they feed us hobbit-like food, including things like tea at tea time, and we had Underhill Pie, aka Shepherd's Pie, for lunch. And we play Middle-earth themed games, and they have a fair amount of them available if we wanted to get into them, as you can see right there. But we were requested to bring Middle-earth Quest, and we were happy to play it. And that's what we're playing today. This game is awesome. You've seen other people review it probably, but if you have an opportunity to play this or get your hands on it, I recommend it. It's about a 3 to 4 hour game. It can play up to 4 players. It's best at its highest play count. Not entirely common among games. But it's a one versus many game where one person plays Sauron and his goal is to advance his plots, and the other players play the heroes of Middle-earth trying to stop him. Now, one of the cool things I like about Middle-earth Quest is that there is no Peter Jackson art anywhere in this game, on the box, anywhere. You will not see Elijah Wood anywhere in production, which is great. It's original art. And another thing I like about this is that it's based off of characters that are not that familiar to the mainstream fans of the movie and books. These are characters that I do believe are canon, but you don't see in the movies at any time. This game takes place during the 11 years between when Gandalf leaves the Shire and comes back to tell Frodo that he has to get out. In the movies, it's only a couple weeks, but in the books, it's actually a very long time. And during that 11 years, this game is set, and the players in the game, their goal is to keep the land safe and stop the darkness and corruption from spreading until Gandalf can come back and set the things in motion that make for the movies. Now, in this game, the object of the game is to be the first team to get your story token all the way to the end of the track, and if you've completed your secret objective when it gets there, then you win the game. If you haven't completed your secret objective when it gets there, then you have to have a duel between your best of the heroes and the ring wraiths. I don't prefer that ending, but it's still pretty cool. Anyways, the heroes get to move up 2 along this track every turn, so usually there's an absolute maximum of about 9 turns in the game. Sauron is able to move their tokens up the board by having certain plots taking place on the game board throughout the game. The ring token represents how close they are to finding the ring. The red token represents how big their armies are becoming, and the black token underneath represents the corruption of the land. Each plot card that Sauron plays will allow them to move one of their markers every turn, and they can have up to 3 plots in play at any time. When they put a plot on the board, the corresponding token is then moved onto the game board in a location. And the heroes have to move to that location and deal with that plot in order to get it off the map and make it stop moving the story card up. So we have to move around and collect these favor tokens by interacting with fellows like this on the board so that we can get the favor tokens and then spend the requisite amount, in this case 0, in order to get rid of those plot cards. Now, they may not be easy as it sounds because this one says 0, but it happens to be in Barad-dûr, which is an incredibly hard location to get to. The enemy has all sorts of tools at their beck and call, including these stacks of monsters that they can put out on the board. Some of them are blank, and they're just rumors of monsters. They also have these minions, and these minions are a lot more powerful than the monster chits that they can put out. These monsters can actually heal, they can move quickly, they can cause corruption in your soul, and it makes it a lot harder to do that. They also are able to advance the game by getting influence tokens and putting them on the board and spreading their influence throughout Middle-earth. Anywhere there's influence tokens, they can have monsters, and it's important to spread that influence so that they're able to play certain plot cards that require influence and corruption to be happening in certain parts of the board. The other part that's important about influence is that the more influence there is, the more corrupt and perilous a location becomes. And if the heroes don't have enough wisdom, then that location is perilous to them, and they have to draw peril cards. Sauron plays peril cards on them and does awful things to them, which is no good. The heroes are interesting in this game because the whole game's life system is based off of your deck. So this is how much life you have. You discard them here when you play them out of your hand, and if you take damage, they go over here. If you're ever told to take damage and you can't because you have no cards in your hand and no cards in your life pool, then you're defeated, and you wake up on the shores of a haven where your friends have dragged you, and the Dark Lord gets a free movement on his lowest token on the scale there, and you get to rest up and start again. So there's no player elimination in the game, which I actually like. That's great. But the game is challenging. It's not a short game, but it is fun and interesting to play. The characters are all a little bit different and have their own abilities. Some are more ranged, some are more melee. The combat in this game is also very easy. You both play cards, and then based off of what the card says, you determine the combat, whether it's ranged, whether it provides you any defense, how much damage it does, and maybe it has a special ability like this one, which says that, you can't read it because it won't focus. There it is. Gain +2 attack if your opponent plays a ranged card. So you play and they play, you compare the cards, and you continue to do that until you've both either used your total strength value of cards. This is a 1. I have a strength of 5, so if I ever play more than 5 strength worth of these cards, I'm exhausted and they just beat on me. Or somebody's defeated. If the hero's defeated, then she gets to add, she being my wife who's playing Sauron, would add more tokens to the board as far as influence. And if the hero defeats them, then they just move one more step closer towards the opportunity to get to those plots, close them out, and be able to win the game. So this is a great game. We don't get to play it that often because it takes 3 to 4 hours to play, and you have to have the opportunity to do it. But it is a great game by Corey Konieczka and Christian T. Peterson. And if I'm not mistaken, Christian T. Peterson is responsible for another one of my popular games that I really like, which is StarCraft, the board game. And Corey Konieczka is like my man crush. He makes incredible games, and there's so many of them that he has made over the years that I adore. This is a great game. Get your hands on it. Play it if you get an opportunity. It is a quality, one of the higher quality Lord of the Rings games that are available out there, and it's a fantastic, fun adventure game that provides you with the opportunity to play a one versus many. I also want to say that there are some one versus many games that don't do that as well, that dynamic of one versus many. There's some games out there, and I'm not going to name names, there are some games out there that just don't do it as well. They don't balance well, they don't gauge well or change well between player counts. This one does, and it plays great whether you're doing one person one-on-one or 3 versus 1, either way you want to do it. So check it out. There's tons of information on it on Board Game Geek because it has been around for a while. And thanks for spending a little bit of time with me on your Saturday. I'm Brian Hazard, and I will see you guys on the Geek. Take it easy.